My first grade teacher, Mrs. Bunnell, loved all the students passionately. And one of the ways she enforced that love was to teach us to recite poems in unison. Reading class was done in a reading circle, with each child taking turns reading the very simple book that goes see Spot, run, see Jane, run. The other students, most of them, had come up with their parents from the South, from Arkansas, Missouri, and so on, and they were very non-literate. Nobody had read nursery rhymes to them, or even for that matter, taught them the ABCs. So we had to go over and over see Spot, run, and Doug Lay struggled with that, looking at something on a page and then saying it. So she was so thrilled when I came back from being sick that she could have him read a little of that. Looking back on it, I suppose she did show me some favor because she knew that I came from an educated family and would eventually get a lot of education myself. But she certainly didn't show it in the sense of in any way telling the other students that I was special or I was gifted or that I was going places. She just plugged along, teaching us all to read at the same snail's pace. She taught us to recite and memorize the poem The Raggedy Man by James Whitcomb Riley. Oh, the Raggedy Man, he works for Pa. He's the goodest man you ever saw. He comes to our house every day and waters the horses and feeds them hay. And old Elizabeth and Ann and I just laugh when he drives out the little wobbly calf. Ain't that a good Raggedy Man? What are you going to be when you grow up, people in town would ask, like is in that poem. Are you going to be a businessman like your pa? No, I are going to be a raggedy man, a raggedy man. Here I am at age 86, sitting in a jungle with no warmed water. But getting back to Mrs. Bunnell, which I should not have digressed from, when her husband died, we'll back up a little. When I would go out to the playground, the other little boys who were older than me but not much bigger from higher grades would bully me. They had a little game where one of them would lift the other one up onto his shoulders, and then he would jump off onto me and knock me to the ground. And that was a pretty big jolt. So I'd come in crying to her, and she would tell me, no, you're going to have to learn to make your way with those boys. But the first couple of times I did it, she actually took me on her lap and comforted me, which is not something I was used to. So one fine day, her husband died suddenly, and she called for me, and my parents came to the house and got me and took her up to her house. She was there weeping on the couch, and she held me on her lap and cried, and her hot tears ran down my face. And as I was sitting there, I had a feeling that swept over me that I don't think was verbal at the time, but it was, well, I can help people. I can comfort people. I can be of use to somebody instead of they're always just giving to me. And there I go, the beginnings of being somebody that I became, a social worker. So Mrs. Bunnell, she ended up, spent her last days in the same care facility where my sister now is. She came to my law school graduation before she went to the care facility. So my memories of that woman, I love her, and I love all the things she gave to me. Mrs. Bunnell, my first grade teacher.